Well, approval of a biotechnology reform bill in the European Parliament last month has been hailed as a major breakthrough toward allowing new genomic techniques. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, joins us now with the latest. Sean, thank you so much. So tell us about this. What exactly does this mean? What techniques are being approved?
Hey, it's great to be with you here this morning. So last week at Crop Convention, which is the annual meeting of the Canola Council of Canada and the Canada Grains Council, Emily Rees, President and CEO of CropLife International, was one of the speakers, and she was talking about this. And she really focused in terms of techniques on gene editing to be used in crop breeding in Europe. Now, the bill still faces an uphill battle to become law across the European Union, but the vote was one example of where policymakers are starting to embrace new technology in agriculture, and mainly due to concerns about things like climate shocks, biodiversity loss, and maintaining access to affordable, nutritious food. So finally, it seems that Europe is coming around to some of the positives of things like gene editing as opposed to just always throwing up roadblocks.
Yeah, Sean, I was going to ask you, having something like this new kind of technology, how does this new attitude factor into things like climate initiatives?
Yeah, well, I think because it can, right? Innovation and technology can be real gateways to fighting something like climate change, and whether this is reducing emissions or reducing soil erosion or water use efficiency, drought tolerance, those kinds of things, that all can fit under that climate change and sustainability umbrella. And too many times in the past, especially in Europe, technology related to plant breeding has been only seen through a particular lens, which is not very progressive or very helpful to farmers in many cases. And like I said, drought resistance, higher yields, and other innovations, they can be great climate stories for ag to tell and obviously prove.
Whenever there are changes, right, we have to talk about trade. How do trade barriers play a role here?
This is one of her big concerns, actually, in her speech. She said, all this is a positive, but at the same time, she is concerned about some of the backlash to some of these new tools and technology in agriculture on the trade front. And especially as farmers fight to remain competitive with exports from other countries. As a part of her presentation, Rees shared photos of farm tractors and some of the farm protests in Europe, around her office in particular in Brussels. And while there were plenty of discussions about agriculture at the WTO ministerial conference in Abu Dhabi going back a couple weeks ago, Rees says she was disappointed there wasn't any breakthrough on discussions about trade barriers that impede food security. Remember, in countries like France, for example, where we've seen some farmer protests, they're protesting for more trade barriers and against things like free trade, which is, finally we're getting European Parliament to come around. Maybe now the next big debate's going to be trying to get farmers to come around to some of these technologies as well.
Yeah, interesting stuff as always. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney. You want to catch Real Ag Radio Update? It is brought to you by Heads Up Plant Protectants. You can go to headsupst.com for more information on their product line. You can also catch Sean's show, Real Ag Radio, 4:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays, Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. Love having him and his team join us here on the Market Day Report.